Welcome to episode 342 of Hit the Ropes Radio. We are not going to be here for a long time, but we are going to be here for a good time. So thank you for tuning in. And I will be joined shortly by my co-host, one Courtney McIntosh. I believe, hopefully, we'll see. I was a little late getting the link out. And I'm going to go ahead. He's setting up now. I got the chime in as I was talking about, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this bad boy started. To do so, I need some friends to join me. I see I got Daniel in the chat room, but I need some other people to join as well to keep it on and popping. So let me go ahead and hit up our Facebook and Twitter, which is at Hit the Ropes, and let's see if I can get a few more people in here to join us so we can make this a party. But tonight we're going to be talking about all things in professional wrestling. Of course, I think the big deals are the balls. We're going to be talking about the Ball brothers, Alonzo and their daddy, all the balls. I'm mixing them up, but that's all right. We're going to be talking about the balls. We're going to be talking about Money in the Bank, the ladies' second ever Money in the Bank, and we'll see how that outcome went out. Scott Steiner held a press conference. A lot of going on in TNA/Impact Wrestling. So we gotta talk about that too. So I hope you're ready to for an exciting show. And so much to talk about. Lisa getting shut out of a Smackdown taping. Lisa Marie, former WWE, former TNA star. She wanted to get backstage passes. They said thanks, but no thanks. While on Monday night we saw a reunion of sorts of Christy Hemme and Tori Wilson, a bunch of different divas. We'll call them divas because that's the era they come from. Divas, women wrestlers, were given a picture with Stephanie McMahon in the back. So I thought that was kind of hilarious. Daniel Price shut down because she's a Cena victim. Daniel, you're going to have to explain what that means. I'm not sure what that means. I thought it was because she was most recent, the nude leaks issue. Obviously, people in the company, but they're already on the inside. So where Victoria's looking on the outside, even though a lot of the people in that picture that I just mentioned, a lot of those women's, a lot of the women were in Playboy, and so what are you going to do there? But as I'm joined now by the Mac from the Black Dad Chronicles. What's up, Mr. Courtney? Can you hear me? Courtney just staring at me. I see my volume going up and down. Daniel has been commenting, but did you plug in the mic? See, all right, this is what you got to do.
I cannot hear.
Oh, you're here. But can you hear me, though? I see you there, but can you hear me? That is the question. Did you plug your headset in? You got to plug the headset in. That's how it works, Courtney. You're looking at me. You got this look on your face, but you're not responding to any of the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. I got a co-host who is not co-hosting. He's just looking at me. Plug it in. Plug it in. What says you? Hello. Awkward silence. He can't hear. So he's going to work that out. While he's working that out, then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the women's Money in the Bank. We're going to be all over the map here. So, just go ahead along for the ride tonight. The women's Money in the Bank matchup. That is basically a redo. And Courtney, you jump in whenever you can actually hear me. The Money in the Bank matchup. Could you hear me? You're just clearing your throat. He's just clearing his throat. So the women's Money in the Bank matchup that was held on Tuesday was an redo from their matchup at the pay-per-view because there was a lot of backlash because all of a sudden, instead of the women going out there and it'd be all about the ladies taking the first ever historic moment, James Ellsworth climbs up the ladder, grabs that briefcase, and just drops it down. So this women's first ever Money in the Bank briefcase matchup, the shine was taken away by Ellsworth. Courtney, can you hear me now? No, still can't hear me now. So he drops it down, and Carmella's the winner like that. And of course, Twitter blows.
Yo, Darius, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm waiting for you to talk. I'm just over here talking it up. You can't hear me.
Why can I hear?
I don't know. Leave and come back. That's all I'm gonna say, Courtney. Leave and come back. Let me put that in the Facebook for Courtney because he's all interrupting. I'm cutting promos here. He's all jumping in, sighing. Let me try and help this brother out. All right. So, where was I? Okay. I was in the middle of talking about what happened. So, before I was rudely interrupted, all of a sudden, James Ellsworth drops the case to Carmella, and that's not the way it was supposed to be. We were supposed to get this women's only matchup, Courtney. We were supposed to get this matchup that featured the ladies, how great they are, how equal they are to all the men. They can do anything a man can do, and then all of a sudden, a man comes and steals the shine. So they rebooted this thing, right? Courtney, they said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that mistake. We messed up. So they had Daniel Bryan come and rip it away from Carmella. And then they went ahead and redid everything, and we got that match for free on Tuesday. And this is why I have a problem, Courtney, if you can hear me. I have a problem because although Daniel Bryan had James Ellsworth escorted from the building, you know, the same old thing that we see in professional wrestling when there's an issue. He's kicked out, gotta go. Right, Courtney? He's gone. But what happens? He returns. He comes back and he climbs the ladder, and it looks like he's gonna do it all over again. And Becky Lynch interferes, and then they push him off, and then Carmella's able to run up and get it all by let me see here. Get it all by herself. So why do we need to redo it? They should have embraced the fact that James Ellsworth and taken the heat. Here's the thing, guys. I'm all about this women's revolution.
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete. I don't know. Control Alt Delete, homie. All right. So this is my thing with the women's revolution. I'm all for it. I'm good. But everything is a first right now, right? The first women's Money in the Bank. Right now on it should have just wrapped up, I guess. On NXT, they had the first women's only standing last woman standing match between Asuka.
Plug it in.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I have always been able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We can all hear you. But you can't hear us.
But he's gonna work that out.
Can,
While he's working that out,
yes, I can hear you. Mute your mic.
Can you hear me?
and talk
Yes.
about the women's Money in the Bank. We're gonna be all over the map here, so
Yo, I
Okay,
can.
you can hear me, right?
Yes.
I can't hear you at all. Like,
Well, all you're doing right now is keep interrupting the show. What's going on?
Hold on, I'm checking my checking my speaker settings. Because I can hear the YouTube stream, but I can't hear you on the call.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Get a new headset.
Yeah, I still can't hear you.
We can hear you. They can hear you. They can hear me. They can hear you. We can all hear everyone except you can't hear me. So maybe try unplugging. Did you get the little plug? You got to plug
can you
in.
hear me now?
Yes, I can always hear you.
Okay, but I can't hear you at all. I can hear YouTube. I can hear the stream, but I can't hear you at all, man.
Get a different headset. Get a new headset.
Briefcase matchup.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm continuing the show.
Courtney.
What I was saying before I was rudely interrupted for the 33rd time in this episode
So he drops it down.
is that we have everything is a first for the women. We get that. We get the importance of that.
Darius, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. I'm waiting for you to talk. I'm just over
I'm
here
gonna mute
talking
you
enough.
because
You can't
you're
hear me.
all right. I just muted you, Courtney, because I can hear the YouTube in the background. Trying to collect my thoughts and continue on this podcast. We gonna keep going. Everything is a first for the women. So that in itself is what's kind of made this thing blow up, right? Because it was the first ever women's Money in the Bank. What, Courtney? Can you hear us now? Let me unmute Courtney. Hold on. I don't even know how to, maybe you muted yourself. I can't unmute you. But anyways, everything's a first for women. So right now we put the fact that this was the first ever women's Money in the Bank and it was tainted with James Ellsworth. Let's calm down. Let's relax. They didn't need to reboot it. Ellsworth is a heel. Carmella is a heel. Listen, we're not going to have the women's organizations protesting the WWE because a man grabbed the briefcase in the first ever women's Money in the Bank matchup. It's just not going to happen, people. So they should have taken the heat. That's more heat on Ellsworth and just rolled with it. They would have been just fine. So I think it's crazy. Did you figure it out, Courtney? You're celebrating your Halloween. I've got you on mute. I don't know how to unmute you. So you got to leave and come back if that's the case. If you have found, leave, come back again, because I can't unmute you unless you muted yourself. I can't hear you right now. But what I was saying is everything's a first. So I think it's hilarious that they rebooted it only to give Carmella back the Money in the Bank briefcase like they wanted to do all along. So, okay, he's unmuted. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Wow. Can we have a podcast now?
Yes. See, I you know, I'm going back to using the old school microphone, and I set it up yesterday because I used it for my podcast, and it just screwed up my computer settings. I'm in the building now.
Oh, Lord. Well, we're going to move right along because I was rambling about the women's Money in the Bank, you know, getting in and out of my thoughts. But we're going to move on. We're going to move from Smackdown to Raw now. The title of this episode is Big Baller Bust. And we talking about them 3 Bs, them $1 billion Bs, them billions is what we talking about tonight, Courtney. What did you think about Ms. TV that featured the one and only Ball family?
Well, first of all, Darius, I don't know if you've listened to any of my podcasts on fatherhood. I know you have, but you know that I am an outspoken supporter of Lavar Ball and what he's doing for his kids, for his family. Now, that being said, I absolutely love the segment. And you know why?
Oh, heck no. All right, go ahead.
Because, you know, that entire segment was perfect for wrestling. You know, wrestling is supposed to be outlandish. It's supposed to be ludicrous. It's supposed to be fun.
Whoa, can I stop you? Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
Did you see the way he looked like a newborn baby duck waddling to the ring, and how he just?
Oh, that was awesome. It was so many. I saw so many gifs, so many memes about his little rundown to the ring. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, I think, and what it Levar, and and this next segment isn't even wrestling related, but it goes to what I've been talking about when it comes to Levar Ball and how he's marketing his family. Do you think Levar Ball paid any money to WWE for his merchandise to be shown on Monday Night Raw? No. You know what happened? They paid him to show up. Levar Ball is running circles around people who teach marketing one-on-one. He's getting all this free promotion, free publicity for his brand and his family and his company, and I love it. But that being said, back to the segment. I enjoyed it. Did I think the segment, got a little bit off the rails? Sure. But it's wrestling, it's fun, it's not supposed to be taken, crazy serious. Yeah, man. I loved it. It was ludicrous and I enjoyed it. It's a WWE thing. Now we've seen, y'all don't sit in the chat room and act like we haven't seen way more outlandish stuff on WWE TV than LeVar Ball and the Big Baller Brand segment on Monday night. If y'all telling me that we've seen, if that was the most outlandish thing that we've seen on Monday Night Raw and you guys are just appalled by it, going out of here, y'all lying. You know what I'm saying? Y'all lying. It was perfect.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are you finished now? Because that statement was almost as foolish as what I watched on Monday night. If you are backing that, supporting that segment as entertaining.
Hey, man, all I'm going to do is just sip my water to that because I thought it was brilliance.
I had to take a deep sigh on that one, Courtney. I had to take a moment to myself on that one, Courtney, because, all right, let me take a look at this from the WWE's perspective. You mentioned marketing, brands, and what it's done for you by coming on as a Ball family and getting that exposure that, that were 3.2 million people that view Raw every single Monday night. But if I'm in Triple H's shoes, first of all, let me get out of Triple H's shoes. Let me get in Vince McMahon's shoes since he owns this company. Now, you mentioned your podcast, the Black Dad Chronicles, great podcast that you do. I listen to that podcast, and I also listen to other podcasts like Bruce Pritchard's podcast, and folks are probably pretty familiar with him. And he speaks of a time where The Godfather was a main character, and he's talking about lighting up them fatties, for this pimp daddy or whatever the saying was, and he was talking about how Vince McMahon had no idea he was referencing weed. And that Vince McMahon had no idea that what the 5-knuckle shuffle is really about. And we won't go into that, but you can use your imaginations. Vince McMahon surely has no idea who the Ball family is what I'm getting at. So you're bringing on people you have no idea. You don't know how to promote or market them. You don't know why they're there other than you're in LA and one of the kids have been drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers. That is your 2 + 2. That is all the equation that you get, because other than that, everything else is pre-cal. You have no idea what's going on. So you got these guys in, you bring them in, possibly paid them to appear. We don't know. What did they get out of it? I'm in Vince McMahon's shoes. What did they get out of it? They had to issue an apology because one of the Ball brothers had to drop the N-word. They can't say the N-word on live TV. That's for Hulk Hogan to use in his private bedroom.
And okay, let's not act like Vince McMahon didn't use it in a segment with John Cena years back. So I mean,
he sure did.
That's hogwash. You know, if you want to do that, that's hogwash. It's preposterous.
So you're okay with it then?
What? I mean, hey, they're not. First of all, you know, I don't expect, you know, LaMelo Ball as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old high school junior to be versed on what to say and what not to say on, you know, a national program like that. And he was just having fun with his dad. So, hey, the N-word slipped out. I've let it slip out, you know, in settings where it probably shouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, hey, that happens. He's not trained for it, you know. It's probably an honest mistake, but let's not act like, you know, WWE hasn't used it before, including the chairman, who is not a black man, a white man.
Right.
But yeah, you know what? Go with, you know, some of the guys in the chat room. Look, yeah, do I think WWE tends to be too celebrity focused? Sometimes I do. But listen, they were in the Staples Center. Lonzo Ball is being looked at as the Los Angeles Lakers franchise savior. Who does the Staples Center belong to? The Los Angeles Lakers. So there was a point in being him there. I'm pretty sure Lakers brass was in on it as well. You know what I'm saying? And let's not act like we don't ever see, you know, players from the teams of the city that they're in at all their shows when they show up, especially the big cities. That's neither here nor there. It was a train wreck segment. Yes, it was. But it was meant to be a train wreck segment. It's not supposed to be looked at as real or anything like that. I enjoyed it for what it was. Let's not take this, you know, so seriously that when something that they show up is not wrestling related, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I can't believe they would do something like this. Oh, I never. You know, let's not act like that, like, you know, all uppity and prudish, and just take it for what it is, man. It's a wrestling show. And wrestling, pro wrestling in its existence, especially WWE wrestling, always goes to outlandish. To me, if you ask me, it wasn't more outlandish than, you know what I'm saying, James Ellsworth on Tuesday night or at the pay-per-view last week, you know. So let's not take this, you know, all that serious. And yeah, look, the Lavar Ball probably got more money than people on the roster. Yes, but you want to know why those people in the back are in the back and not on TV? They suck. You want to know why Curtis Axel was mad? Because he sucks. Curtis Axel was green-lighted, giving Paul Heyman as his advocate. And you know what? Curtis Axel sucks. They sucks.
Yo, okay.
And shout out, and you know what? Shout out to Daniel Price, who always dropping gems in the chat room. Yes, it's not a wrestling show anymore because they don't even want to use the word wrestler anymore. So it's entertainment. We were all there to be entertained. You know, some of you guys didn't like it. I loved it. I was all in. And you know what? Shout out to The Miz for not letting the segment crash, you know, and burn like more than it could have, because that could have crashed and burned a lot more. But, you know, The Miz did his best to try to save it. And they, you know, I'm pretty sure they sent Dean Ambrose out there earlier. So, I mean, but hey, you know, it is what it is, man. You know, it's outlandish. It's kid fun. And I don't care if Curtis Axel was mad. I don't care if, you know, old-timey wrestlers who don't like guys flipping and doing moonsaults and that are mad. It's supposed to be like a carnival clown show for kids. And guess what? I had fun watching it. And I'm not going to be mad with a celebrity. Yeah, you know what? Josh Dummel was out there shilling the movie, but you want to know? I wasn't paying attention to him on commentary. I was watching the match, because it was actually a pretty good match going on. You know what I'm saying? And no, they weren't focused on the match, the commentary team, but how many of us really listen to Michael Cole and them anyway? We listen to Booker T, for, you know, just to see if he'll say something crazy one week. Corey Graves does an excellent job, and so does Michael Cole. But we don't, you know, let's not act like the commentary is what we're always focusing on. No, you're focusing on the match, and that's what I was focused on.
You saying a lot of crazy stuff right now, Courtney. So I'm gonna have to. I can't let it go on anymore. You talk about. Listen, my point was, you're bringing all these guys in. You don't know who they are, what they do, other than they're associated with the Lakers, and that it could get you some publicity. But there are a lot of people of the mindset any publicity is good publicity. I do not ride that wave. I've said it on this show a bunch of times. I'm in marketing. That's my field. I don't subscribe to that because instead of TMZ did report Levar Ball, takes his shirt off and goes crazy. Okay, that's probably on the lines of what the WWE expected with this. But far more, it was either dropping the N-word, which is not, who cares who said it before, who can say it, who can't say it. At the end of the day, as a company, that's not the impression that you want. That's not the headline you want.
I agree. I totally agree with you on that point.
All right. And then third of all, you mentioned they've taken wrestling out. I wish I found that guy on Twitter who someone wrote a very, very lengthy article. I'm going to try and pull it up right now if I can. It's from the Gorilla Position. If anybody's familiar with that wrestling blog, let me try and see if I can find it right now. But he to sum it up, in his blog is, what's going on with professional wrestling right now. It's going downhill. The ratings aren't the same. And he lists a plethora of reasons of his opinion why that is. Whether it is, let's see, I want to try and reference, pushing people that aren't ready, putting people on the mic. He named Roman Reigns that can't spit. He was a little bit silly with things like having weird names that nobody can relate to, like Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. That's a little bit of the stretch. But he lists, a variety of other great reasons why professional wrestling is going on a downspin, where other, like Lucha Underground, their ratings are going up, and the WWE's is going down. So, which is a little bit skewed because Lucha Underground has nowhere to go but up. So let's shine both sides of things. But my point is, going back to this segment, this was not a very entertaining segment. They tried it. What was the purpose? Did it get somebody else over? Like when they used Mike Tyson, I know he's a much bigger name. But I'm talking about the way they used him. They used it to swerve another wrestler from DX and Stone Cold. So it had a purpose in the storyline, where this was just, as you mentioned, to try and steal some headlines by putting somebody who would say something really, really crazy out on a live mic. Because he obviously either didn't follow the script or they didn't script him fully or whatever the case was. So this goes to my point of what the heck's going on in wrestling right now, that this is acceptable. This is okay. This was something that you do. They're reaching. If this was TNA, Courtney, we would destroy them for pulling out the Ball family for this. It's a simple, headline grabbing thing. Would we not? If this was on an Impact Wrestling show, first of all, we probably wouldn't have seen it. But if we did see it, we would have killed them for it, just destroyed them for it. So, I think it's a little bit of a reach and kind of embarrassing. It was embarrassing. He's flopping around like he's swimming in a dried up lake, running around with a search on. He's going, what is that? Like, come on, man. I didn't like that. You're the host of Black Dad Chronicles. He sent black people back 50 years just with that nonsense he was doing. My goodness. It was horrible.
Here's the thing. LeVar Ball is not the reason why Raw is, the ratings are going down every week. They want to know the reason why ratings are going down every week is because, quite frankly, the product sucks. They push these guys who people don't get behind, and they continue to push these guys that people don't get behind. The storylines have been trash. I mean, even SmackDown isn't good anymore. And SmackDown was the best thing going for the WWE, you know, for a while. But the WWE as a product, the actual the television production product as a whole is not good. There's a lot of the in-ring stuff that's good, but characters aren't being developed properly. Storylines aren't being written properly. Guys simply can't talk on the microphone. You know, back to the golden age when we was watching, right? You had Rock, you had Jericho, you had Austin, you had Triple H, you had Road Dogg, you had Godfather, who you spoke about earlier. You had a litany of people who could get on the mic and they would give the mic to, you know, Edge and Christian. You know, you could give these people a mic and send them out there and they would just they would just draw you in with what they say, how they use the mic, the way promos are. How many people on a roster can you honestly give a microphone to and expect them to have somebody to pull somebody in? Kevin Owens.
And they have promo classes.
Exactly. Well, you know what they need? They need new instructors for those promo classes because they're not working. Because the only people who as a fan, the only people who I don't mind going out to see talk is Kevin Owens, Paul Heyman. And, you know, that's maybe it. The New Day. But even the New Day has kind of gotten a little corny. But you know what? It's not a lot. And when I say the New Day, I basically mean Xavier Woods and Big E. Because, you know, Kofi don't really talk. But it's no creativity in wrestling anymore. I think that's the reason why the product is suffering. I think that's the reason why Raw is bleeding viewers. That's the reason why the whole overall product as a production has gone down. Is not interesting anymore. And you got, like, look at what happened in ROH this week. Cody Rhodes. People who, a guy who, you know what I'm saying, has a heritage and a lineage in professional wrestling and that people love. He won his first ever championship this week. And you know what? He was celebrated for it. Why did Cody Rhodes never get that opportunity in WWE? Because Vince McMahon wanted him to play some clown character so he could sell gloves and face paint and masks. You know what I'm saying? The product isn't interesting. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, is interesting. And like Daniel Price is saying, like, you know, people were rival showed up last week, you know, there was nothing. And like watching the revival from NXT to now was like, man, as far as tag team goes, it's like the New Day and a Revival. And you know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, really, that's really interesting to me. I mean, I like the way the Usos are, you know, the new Usos. I like Cesaro and Sheamus, but I mean, as far as like, you know, the Revival is like a perfect tag team and people don't get behind them. And you want to know why? Because they don't have an interesting story. That's it. You know, it's like, and I refer to wrestling as performance art. So like a play, you know what I'm saying? People aren't going to see a boring play. People aren't going to see, you know what I'm saying, a boring Broadway show. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, it's the same thing that's going on with wrestling. The product as a whole, not just the wrestling, because, you know, like I said, some of the wrestling is good. And look, I'm not saying, that's not to say everything is bad. Like, you know, Jinder Mahal, you know, winning the championship was big for them. And I really enjoyed that. And the other thing is, like, I actually think that people can get behind Jinder Mahal, especially a nation of like 1 billion people, you know, but at the same time, nobody's getting behind Randy Orton. AJ Styles was the hottest thing in wrestling last year. And where is he? Where's John Cena?
Well, John Cena's been making movies and doing TV shows, and he'll be back July 4th. If you haven't seen all the 14 billion, they're promoting John Cena as he should be, as you know, he is, you know, one of the biggest names in the wrestling business ever. So they'll get a boost from there. But the question is, what will they do with him? He's a free agent. I'm sure he'll play both Raw and SmackDown. I think if you're going to continue this, Muhammad, I'm about to say Muhammad Hassan. I'm about to take us back in history. Muhammad Hassan, Jinder Mahal. They're gonna bring back Jinder Mahal. Keep them going. You got to have that super feud with Cena. So, yeah. but to continue on to what you were referencing, yes, they're lacking a lot. They're lacking the continuity from NXT up to the main brands. They don't know what to do with these guys once they get there. Apollo Crews probably shouldn't have gotten called up when he did. He didn't spend, any time in NXT. The Revival, as you spoke about, what's going on with them. Ascension, they did the best skit wrestling or anything they've ever done in the history of their promotion this week on the
Fashion Files.
On Fashion Files. So they've got they've got little gems, right? So they've got little gems, the Fashion Files. They've got Jinder Mahal, Braun Strowman on Raw. So they've got little things, but I think you made the reference of people who could talk in the Attitude Era, but credit to Vince Russo or whoever was writing this. Russo has been criticized so much, but the one thing that he did do was he tried to find a storyline and something for every person on that card. So whether it's Val Venus or The Rock, he had something important for him, and there was some meaning to what they were doing. The Attitude Era wasn't about cursing and women flashing and doing all that. There was some outlandish, really stupid stuff in that era, but at least when people got involved, they had a purpose, and that might be missing. What's missing in professional wrestling today? Also, what's missing is that connection. That connection could be seen in Impact Wrestling. It's missing. Now, Courtney, I want to talk to you about a couple press releases that we received at Hit the Ropes for Impact Wrestling. I know all of our peeps, they don't follow Impact Wrestling that closely, but they probably could still, as Shane put on our Facebook messaging, he put, since Jeff Jarrett and the Anthem Sports have taken over from Dixie Carter, we thought this would be a blessing in some degrees because Dixie Carter didn't have any knowledge of wrestling coming in. She was just kind of, fueling it with money, but didn't have anything behind it. Jeff Jarrett, his father was a promoter. He's a promoter. He, at one point, right before he got ousted out, they were on a rise again. And we thought TNA was going to, finally get where they needed. Then he got kicked out. He got brought back. So, boom, we thought we were going to get something great for TNA. But it's been flat. They got, you saw the Hardys leave. They were very disgruntled and left. Now it's coming out. Did you see the reports of all the agents? Al Snow, Shane Helms, I forget the other guy who I think he was in ECW for a while. But all they let go of all their agents, and Shane Helms has gotten rave reviews of how well he was doing. He had his click on air, but was really working. So they had the highest of highs with getting that attention from the Hardys to craziness. And one of the press releases, not the one you probably think I'm referencing, but we'll get to that. But one press release I got was letting us know that Impact Wrestling has now absorbed and purchased Global Force Wrestling, whatever GFW, Jeff Jarrett's promotion. Do you care? Do you care that GFW was purchased?
Nope. It's funny because I actually had asked a question about them like maybe 2 months ago, and none of us could have the answer. I forgot all about GFW because remember when they first started, they had that big tournament, that they, that was supposed to have all these big names and stuff like that. Well, after they would start, finish announcing names for the tournament, you know, I never heard from him again. And I totally forgot that Global Force Wrestling was a thing until, you know, recently. But I think when it comes to TNA, their main problem is the fact that they don't have any money. Like, you know, Daniel Price just said, the mid 2000s era of TNA, you know, Joe Styles, Cass, Christopher Daniels, you know, Shelly and Sabin, you know what I'm saying? All those guys. And it was actually good. It was a really good alternative to WWE programming. And I remember I actually went to their Slammiversary show. I think it was 2013 because it was at the Palace of Auburn Hills. I went with Meech and his cousin Brian, and it was an excellent show. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Meech did took some footage of that event, and I was recorded saying, "Screw WWE, I have crossed the line." Those are my exact words. And they don't have any money. They don't have the money to compete, you know. And I also think, you know, another problem that they're having is you know, unlike ROH, they're trying to be too big.
I don't know if it's a money thing. I'm sure that's a part of it, but I think they did exactly what happened when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came in. When Hogan and Bischoff came in, they brought in all their friends, but you know, unlike when Hogan came to WCW years prior, where he brought in you know, Savage and other big name stars, he brought into TNA, he brought in the Nasty Boys and Scott Hall, who was not ready to go at that time, and all these other cast of characters. Jeff Jarrett did the same thing when he returned. He brought back the old regime, but it wasn't the in the chat rooms. It was this, you know, they were talking about Stings and you know, AJ Styles, and it wasn't those guys. Right. They're bringing back Don West, who Don West was excellent selling T-shirts. There was a time when they made more money off of merchandise sales than they did ticket sales, and I know that for facts. And just being able to you know, walk into a ticket counter and say, "Hey, I'm supposed to have tickets," and they give me tickets, and I walk in and they're doing it on a soccer field with maybe 200 people there for a show. But they're bringing back some of those guys, but not the great guys. And they're bringing back Abyss's alter ego, which Joseph Parks, nobody really cared for. You know, they're doing weird things. And we talk about friends. They're bringing back Scott Steiner, and we like Scott Steiner, but the way that they are already positioning Scott is just weird. And this is what I was referencing with the press release I received. And you might have seen it because a lot of media also received it. And it was so funny. I've never received a press release like this before. I've gotten them from Bellator. I've gotten them from ROH. I've gotten them from, you know, a lot of different companies in various industries. Mm-hmm. This is the press release sent to hit the ropes. Media advisory: Scott Steiner is coming. This is common, right? And for those who haven't been a part of these media calls, they'll either set aside a time, and you'll get connected to the PR guy, and you'll say, "Okay, I'd like to talk to Scott Steiner in this case." And then like, "Okay, Scott's going to be taking calls from 2:30 to 3:30," and basically the guys are, you know, the wrestlers hang around back. You call the PR cell phone, they hand it to the guy, and it just keeps circulating from wrestler to wrestler. That's usually how it works. The first press release comes out, and they say there are topics that Steiner will discuss. Now, usually they don't outline specific topics. Usually, you know that it's about a pay-per-view and we're promoting, you know, his match versus X, Y, and Z, and that's all there is to it. They don't really outline it for you. They don't really hold your hand. You call, you ask your questions, you write it up, you post it on your your newspaper or your blog, right? Well, this one, we got guidelines, topics that he will talk. Now, let's see. Scott Steiner's participation in a one-on-one media interviews is unauthorized, unsanctioned, and uncensored. This is crazy. This is how this thing is starting off. Like we having a match. Like, it's me versus Scott Steiner right now. We about to have a match. Scott Steiner's contract said he can request media interviews if he wants and talks about Slammiversary. Okay. Impact officials' refusal to support the always out of control, despite Impact official refusal to support the always out of control. So these are the topics. Slammiversary, okay. Impact on Pop, okay. The Impact World title picture, all right. His longtime hatred for JB, Jeremy Borash, okay. He's in a match against Jeremy Borash and Joseph Park, and his tag team partner will be Josh Park. Weird, but okay. He wants to talk about the University of Michigan, and he also wants to talk about his freaks around the world. And he wants to talk about crazy YouTube videos. Those last two are really weird.
Yeah. Really
weird, but they had so much response. It was a one-on-one, right? They had so much response from that they decided that they were going to hold a conference call where they give you a number instead of just handing you the phone directly. You have to call in. So he's going to now they opened up the topics Steiner's will discuss. In addition to freaks around the world and crazy YouTube videos, he will talk about bench press and bikinis, push-up and prima donnas, and all things Waffle House. Did you hear? So someone asked him. He wanted to talk about the freaks around the world. They asked him, and his comment, his response was that his goal was to beat Wilt Chamberlain's world record of sleeping with women, and said that he had slept with over 15,000 women in 1999. Courtney, that's what this press conference was about. That was the highlight. Him sleeping with, which would have equaled 41 women a day for those who didn't feel like doing the math. And that's just the craziest thing I've ever heard.
For a guy who's been married for 17 years. Sure.
Yikes. What the heck is going on? One, that I know that we talked about publicity. I said I'm not good for any publicity is good publicity. But what is going on? Why are we having these press conferences when we're talking about sleeping with 15,000 women instead of Slammiversary?
Because Scott Steiner was the biggest guy that they could get, probably. I mean, and I didn't want to see a 44-year-old Scott Steiner wrestler. I'll be honest. But I'll damn sure don't want to see a 54-year-old Scott Steiner wrestler wrestle. I mean, Scott Steiner hasn't been interesting since he was in NWO. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. They pay these guys, and they think it's going to be a nostalgia trip when honestly they're getting the wrong guys if they want to do a nostalgia trip. It's just like, why? Like, who cares about Scott Steiner right now? I don't. What wrestling fan out there cares about Scott Steiner? Not me. Why are we not talking about Slammiversary? You know what I'm saying? And it's another sign of poor booking. Look, it goes around. It's not just a WWE problem. We've been known that it was a TNA problem, but they get these guys because their names, and they think that they'll bring people in, but in reality, like, they weren't top guys when they were around. So I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. It's just something I just don't get when it comes to wrestling booking, and WWE does a lot of that, But you know, I still don't understand like why are we talking about Scott Steiner in 2017?
Yeah, the thing is, he really messed up his place in history, I feel, because he was a part of one of the greatest tag teams, but then he went to this the Freaks, you know, and it really, I think, took away from what he could have been. And it was really sad. It's really sad. I know he had that big accident, and you know he's come back from that, and there's kudos to him. So, but Impact, WWE, there's a lot of issues, and I might have to, hit up hittheropesradio.com and write a blog on it and just kind of discuss and break down, things that I think are the issue. Because the truth be told, there was a time where stars would come to the WWE and would beg to be a part of the WWE. Now we're seeing wrestlers want to join MMA, and it's really been a different turn. And a lot of that is with the booking. And I think Vince McMahon is out of touch. They call him a genius, but I really think he's, there's levels to that, and the age is real, and he's out of touch. And I don't know if they've got the right minds there right now, but something that has kind of done everything right is Glow. The gorgeous ladies of wrestling, they've come up with a new Netflix special. Have you seen it yet, Courtney? Have you taken the time to sit down and watch Glow?
I still haven't seen it, just because the last 3 weeks or so, my work schedule has been crazy. So I haven't really watched any TV. I haven't even watched Power yet, and it's Wednesday, and it debuted.
Don't say
on
that.
Sunday.
I haven't seen it either.
But I've just been kind of crazy busy and trying to lock down interviews for my other podcast. But no, I plan on watching it at some point tomorrow or Friday, because it looks interesting. I've seen reviews. People are really enjoying it. Said it's really good. So I really want to watch it. But yeah, I just haven't had the time. Yeah,
well, and it has been. I watched all of it. The first 3 or 4 episodes went really, really quick, being that they were that good, and then it was kind of a little dragged a little bit for me. But I'm actually interested in it, in the fact that I think that they should do more series after this. There's so much. They were on for 4 years, I believe, and they the stories afterwards. I watched the documentary. They had a documentary that came out several years before this. So I watched that documentary after I finished all of the episodes that are available. And man, the ladies, I didn't realize how hurt they got. Not that, obviously we're wrestling fans, we know how damaged, but a lot of them got really, really injured. And they're suffering till this day with some of those injuries. Some nasty. You got to watch the documentary. It's crazy. But also, the documentary, I didn't know how good they how close they made the series to the actual thing. They used Eddie's nephew, Chavo Guerrero, as the wrestling instructor to teach him how to do wrestling. When Manny Guerrero taught the original girls how to wrestle. So they kept it authentic to an off-camera thing. So that was pretty cool. But they have cameos in there. Our girl Awesome Kong, who we had on this on our podcast some years back, she's in it. She plays a major role in it for those who haven't seen it. A lot of cameos. I'm sure you've seen Carlito, Alex Riley, John Morrison. So there's a lot. Hey, for no other reason than bringing these girls, bringing the guys in who are wanting to get into Hollywood, like Alex Riley. This gives them a shot to come in and do something a little close to home and get their chops in. So, but Glow gets a glowing review from me, Courtney. Definitely got to sit down, and it's something you can binge watch, and it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
How many episodes is it?
Not long. I think it might be 10.
Okay.
So 10 1-hour episodes, and it flies by, and it's cool because it's the 80s, obviously is the time frame, so you get all that feel, and they make a lot of jokes. they have I don't want to spoil it, but they have some jokes, going back in time that now, being in the future, what really happened, and comparing to what goes down, and those easy, really cheesy jokes like that. So very crazy, very crazy. But man, we already hitting up on the 10 o'clock hour. Is there anything that you want to touch on before we get up out of this joint?
Not really. I just other than the fact that if you thought that Carmella wasn't going to win that Money in the Bank match on Tuesday night, you were, I don't know what you were on, but I mean, I think it was, like you said earlier, I think it was the right choice. Not surprised they put it back on her. Ellsworth making his, amazing run in, we've seen that all before, but, I'm interested to see where it goes, because, out of all the WWE TV, the Smackdown ladies to me are probably the most interesting thing going on, because they actually let all of their women compete and all their women stay visible. I do like the fact that, Lana was beaten quickly this week. But like we were talking about the little gems earlier, man, all of it isn't bad. Like, you got little gems sprinkled in, like, who would have imagined Braun Strowman, roaring into our TV screens like he did. But hey, I'm pumped every time I get to see Braun Strowman on TV. And I'm a Roman Reigns fan, but whenever he shows up and just destroys Roman, I enjoy that. Like the Fashion Files. That's like, it's one of those things that make you think back to your childhood about, some of the things that went on in the old days. And it kind of that's a little nostalgia kick, but you gotta have two guys make it work. And Fandango and Tyler Breeze, have made it work. And, like Tyler Breeze, we were talking earlier about the NXT cups and the mishandling of them. It's just so many things. We save that for another show. But that's all. A pretty meh week on wrestling this week. I'm glad to show that they're showing that Samoa Joe ain't a punk, even though I still think they're gonna, screw him out. So I mean, yeah, I'm waiting for it.
How about Nia Jax? Nia Jax went to Twitter and she was complaining how, as you mentioned, the SmackDown women have all been able to get into the spotlight recently, and that hadn't been the case for the Raw women, but they did a gauntlet match. They hyped it up all night for this number one contender match, which Sasha Banks eventually won, but Nia Jax was looking like a beast as she steamrolled opponent after opponent after opponent in that gauntlet match until she got to Sasha Banks, and then they made her tap at the last minute. And so many people were complimenting Sasha Banks and Nia Jax, within the industry on Twitter. So I'm happy to see that. And I'm happy, although I would like Nia Jax to be women's world champion right now for Raw. They put it off for another day. And I'm hoping that's just to build anticipation, because her and Alexa Bliss, which is a little bit weird because they have been publicly such good friends and besties on Twitter, yet the rivalry's not, it's the opposite. I think they should go the HBK Diesel route with it, but that's just me. But
another thing involving women, I was looking at the NXT is trending on Twitter right now, and I forgot that the last woman standing match with Asuka and the other chick, I don't know her name,
Nikki.
Yeah, what's her name?
Nikki Cross, Nikki. I don't remember. It's failing me. But I'm a big fan of hers too. So much a fan I know her name. But
right.
Continue with your thought.
No, but they had their last woman standing match on NXT today, and apparently they killed it. Nikki Cross. Thanks, Shane.
I thought I said that. Did I say that? But okay, keep going.
But they went through tables. They were power bombing each other through things, and that's I thought, just looking at some of the things, I saw Asuka won with a suplex off the ladder onto the NXT announce table, and it actually looked really dope. And that's just one of those cool things you like to see. So if y'all didn't get a chance, check out NXT today.
Man, I'm a big fan of Asuka, and I'm so afraid for her.
Me too. And that's that's one of the things that you brought up early. Like when you bring a guy up from NXT and then they have nothing to do with him. Like, you look at a guy like Tyler Breeze, what really were you going to do with him on the main roster? Apollo Crews, everybody on the indies loved Apollo Crews because he can really, really wrestle. He can really go, but he has no personality at all. When he comes on, I fast forward or I turn the channel. I'm hoping that, aligning him with Titus actually works out. But you got other guys like, Elias Sampson wasn't in NXT for nothing but a hot minute, and he's on the main roster, and I kind of like what they're doing with him. But the Ascension were monsters in NXT. I enjoy the Ascension in NXT, and they get up to the main roster and they make them clown shoes. So it's apparently it's Vince, and Vince is gonna Vince.
Well, the thing is, they have their storylines for the main people, and they don't really expand beyond that, and that's why Rusev has fallen through the cracks, and Rusev should be the number one heel on SmackDown right now by far. Yes. He is a beast. He is excellent, and we're getting updates on haircuts on freaking Twitter. Like, really? Like, wow, Rusev has a nice haircut today. Oh, okay. I mean, he should be crushing people. That's what he does. But
look, our buddy Shane has taken his time from jumping out of airplanes to complain that I'm spoiling NXT. Hey, the spoilers were out like 3 weeks ago, Shane.
Yeah. Oh, poor Shane. And I don't know why you would jump out of airplanes. Only fools do that. But yeah, so
that's all I got, man.
A lot going on. We'll continue the conversation on Twitter then at Hit the Ropes. We would like you guys to follow us so we can follow you back, and let's chat this up. Especially during Raw, during SmackDown, NXT. We're basically here, but follow us. I'm at Hit the Ropes. That's not my. That's the show's Twitter. I am the show. I'm at Hit the Ropes, but I'm also at HTR, Mr. Wikipedia as well. So you can follow me there. Courtney, where you at on Twitter, my friend?
I changed my Twitter handle
every day.
So I am at Mr. Courtney Mac. That's Mr. with a capital M, Courtney with a capital C, Mac, M-A-C with a capital M also.
All right, people, we thank you for tuning in this Wednesday. Make sure you tune in to episode 343 next Wednesday, 9 p.m. here on YouTube Live. Thank you and have a great night.